Well, last week, Jesus showed us that he is the one who brings his people into truth, that those who are truly his disciples, they will remain and abide and stay in his words, which are truth. And now in this next bit, this last section of chapter 8 of John's Gospel, Jesus shows us what the other side is. If he is for truth, then those who aren't with him, Jesus says, aren't for truth. They are in a different camp. This conversation with the Jews is carrying on in this section, and they're contending that they are those who walk in the right because they are descendants of Abraham. And Jesus says, no, just because you're born of Abraham, it doesn't mean that you are part of his lineage. There is a spiritual lineage that comes from Abraham that all of God's true people are part of, but it is not passed on by biology. It is not passed on by ethnicity or nationality. It is a spiritual family that we are brought into. And they are having this to and fro with Jesus. And Jesus says, do you know how I know that you're really not Abraham's descendants? Because you're seeking to kill me. By this point, he's heard that the Jews are conspiring to take his life. And he says, why would you do that if you were truly descendants of Abraham? If you were truly part of God's family, why would you try and kill the one who has been sent from God? And they're not having any of it. They come back to Jesus again and they say, no, we are Abraham's true people. And Jesus says, if you were really from Abraham, if you were really part of God's family, you would love me. Because if you say you love the Father, you must love the Son. You must love me. And then he comes back to this issue of truth. He says, you don't understand what I say. Like the words that I say to you, the words that Jesus is teaching them, it's as if they are just fallen on deaf ears. He asks them this question, why do you not understand what I say? And he gives them the answer, it's because you cannot bear to hear my words. Jesus' words to the Jews at this point were burning in their ears. They were crushing to hear. They hated to hear what Jesus was saying because what Jesus was saying was truth. Folks, when we read God's word, sometimes as we read it as truth, it is difficult. It really shows us who we are. It shows us the depths of our heart without God. It shows us our deep need for God. It shows us our hopelessness without God. And even today in the 21st century, maybe more so today, to sensitive souls who like to think that we are kings and queens of the world, that is difficult to hear. We are not on the throne. There is a greater authority. The money, sex, power will not lead us to true freedom. But real submission to God will. It is difficult to read. It is difficult to hear. Jesus says if we hear those things and if we hear them as truth and we follow, that shows that we are part of God's family. We are God's children. If we cannot bear to hear the words of Jesus, it shows that not only are we not in God's family, Jesus goes on to say to the Jews, you are part of the devil's family. He says your father is the devil. Wow, that is heavy. That is difficult to hear. But if we are not for Jesus, if we are not with Jesus, then we stand opposed to him. And the leader of the camp that stands opposed to Jesus is our great enemy, Satan. Jesus says if you want to follow him, do you know what his manifesto is? Lies. He says this. He says, you are of the father, of the devil, and your will is to do your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning and has nothing to do with the truth because there is no truth in him. He says that he is a father of lies. He is a liar and he is the father of lies. Which camp would you want to belong in? A family of truth? A family of love? A family of honesty, but with difficult conversations, but with integrity? Or a family where you do what you want? You follow your own desires, but it is built on lies. Lies that this is what freedom looks like. This is what truth looks like. This is what real living looks like. But fundamentally, there is no truth to them. There is no love to them. There is just easy conversations where you do what you want. Jesus comes down hard on the Jews here. because they are walking in error, but also because he loves them and he wants them to walk in truth. So would we consider that this week? Whose camp are we in? Are we submitting to the difficult words of Jesus and seeing them as truth, or are we following an easier path? Not bearing with Jesus' words, but just following our own desires and placing ourselves into a different camp. A camp where our leader is Satan, the father of lies. Jesus gives us a better way. And his children, if you're a Christian, you are not in that camp. You are in his family. A family of truth. A family of love. A family where we willingly and lovingly submit to our true and loving King, Jesus.